Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is April 2nd, 2024. We are at the Howell Township regular council meeting.
This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided in the manner prescribed by law. This agenda is complete to the extent known, and formal action will be taken. I'll begin with a roll call. Councilwoman Fisher?
Here.
Councilman Gager?
Here.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Nadell is absent this evening. Mayor Berger?
Present.
Thank you.
Mr. Clark, is there any reason to go into executive session this evening?
Yes, we have a couple contract matters to discuss.
Thank you. So may I have a motion?
Motion to go into executive session?
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Berger?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor? I still have
excuse
it.
me.
Mayor Berger.
Still have it.
You will.
A couple more months. You can't take it.
You will.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening, April 2nd, 2024. It's actually Autism Spectrum Disorder Awareness Day, and I promised my nephew I would shout out to him. So to Anthony Luca, baby, I love you. Can we please have a roll call?
Councilwoman Fisher?
Here.
Councilman Gager?
Here.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Nadell is absent this evening. Mayor Berger?
Present.
Thank you.
If we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and have a moment of silence for fallen heroes.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a proclamation for Alcohol Awareness Month to be read by Krista Riddle.
That way.
Yeah.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Krista Riddle. I'm the Alliance Coordinator. So I do substance use prevention and mental health awareness for the town, for those of you who do not know. April is Alcohol Awareness Month. So we have a proclamation for this year. Whereas according to the World Health Organization in 2022, approximately 3 million people die each year as a result of harmful alcohol use. And whereas approximately 16 million Americans were heavy alcohol users and 14.5 million Americans had an alcohol use disorder, according to the 2019 National Survey on Drug Use and Health. And whereas 7 million adults ages 12 to 20 reported current alcohol use despite its illegality for this age group, and whereas alcohol use disorders are among the mental disorders with the lowest treatment rates due to a lack of awareness, denial, stigma, shame, and limited access to support resources. And whereas excessive alcohol use increases the risk of injuries and chronic diseases such as liver and heart disease, cancer, poor pregnancy outcomes, and mental and behavioral disorders. And whereas underage alcohol use can interfere with normal brain development, increase the risk of alcohol use disorder across a lifetime, and contribute to a range of negative consequences, such as sexual assaults, alcohol overdoses, motor vehicle crashes, homicides, and suicides. And whereas the Howell Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention and Mental Health Awareness remains committed to community education and awareness on the prevention and treatment of alcoholism, alcohol misuse, and underage drinking. Now, therefore, Teresa Berger, Mayor of the Township of Howell, on behalf of the Township Council, proclaims April 2024 as Alcohol Awareness Month in Howell Township, New Jersey, and commend its observance to all citizens.
Thank you. At this time, may I have a motion for minutes of March 5th, 2024?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of March 5th, 2024.
May I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Abstain.
Thank you.
we cannot vote on the next set, so we're not going to vote on this till the next meeting.
Correct.
Because there's,
Not a
they
quorum.
were not there, we just, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it's just to put that out there. Are there any reports?
Not from me, just what we discussed in exec, and then we have the budget presentation later, so.
Okay,
Nothing from me.
nothing? Can we begin the meeting?
Mr. Clark, we have anything going on with news as far as the PBA contract goes?
So we can't go into too much detail, but we've had a meeting with them. We've traded some drafts. We are getting our draft back to them this week, I anticipate, and we're looking to hopefully have this settled by the end of the month.
Thank you.
So at this time, I'd like to open a hearing of citizens and public comment on the consent agenda item and general matters. So I would like to open up the floor.
Each person shall first give their name and address to the clerk. The council should be addressed as a collective body and not as individual members. Each person shall have one turn to address the council, and comments shall not exceed a total of 5 minutes. Speakers shall be notified when their time has run, and no time extensions shall be permitted.
Mr. Ryberger.
Paul Rayberger, 147 Arnold Boulevard. Coming in here tonight to continually talk about truck traffic, people speeding down my road. Had a real bad incident about 2 weeks ago. My daughter and my granddaughter's sitting right here. She decided to come tonight. Car come flying by at an insane amount of speed. They were just getting ready to leave my house, so I was worried about them pulling out into the street. Thought maybe they might get killed. So I called the police department, see if they could send a guy down, you know, just to slow things down. The guy wouldn't send anybody out. He said it wasn't important enough. But I said, well, listen, I got it on film. I got a camera out in front of my house. If the guy's not too busy, if he's in the area, could he stop by, take a look at it? The guy stopped by, a young police officer, super nice guy. I showed him all my videos, the same ones that I've been showing to you people, with the car speeding. So then he said to me, he says, look, I'll hang out for a little while if I got time. Sure enough, we got it right on film. Matter of fact, Diane, I think I sent it to her this afternoon.
Yes.
I don't know if you got a chance to see it or not.
I did not open
But I
it
almost
yet.
had a head-on collision out there. Guy, I don't know what he was doing, is in the other lane. Thank God the person stopped. It was real close to a head-on collision, probably would have resulted in another fatality. Came real close. Last meeting I was at, I wasn't even joking around when I said I'll keep a body count for you. Honestly, I came very close to having to put another addition to it. And I got it on film. You could see it. But the other thing I wanted to talk about is, what I talked about last meeting was the corner of Arnold Boulevard and Lakewood Allenwood Road with the trucks not being able to make that turn. I brought in some pictures for you. And, you know, just concerned about these trucks going head-on into the school buses. And I gave you the pictures. And I have a couple new ones here, too, in color. But anyway, when I had that meeting with Mr. Clark over here, and I said the whole thing was nothing but a setup. They had no intentions on helping me. They were just trying to get rid of me. But he made a big deal over the school. There was a school there. He made a big deal about the fact that the buses it had no bearing on anything, the weight restriction on the road, because, he says, because the students were all bussed in. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is he knew all about them buses, right? There's 3 schools around the corner. Lakewood, probably about a mile and a half away. 3 schools on Ramptown Greenville Road. You go the other way, there's 3 more schools, probably all within a mile and a half. But yet, last meeting, when Mrs. O'Donnell asked Mr. Clark if he knew anything about that intersection with the school. He says, no, he wasn't aware of it. But when it was convenient for him at that meeting, he knew everything there was to know about them schools when it was going to work in his argument. So, I don't know what's going on here. They did a study about a year ago. I got the results right here. There's 246 buses a week on that road. Trucks, 1,182 trucks on the road. Multi-unit trucks.
I'm sorry, how many buses did you say?
246.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you this.
Oh, okay.
So you have it. This is the most recent report.
Okay.
And I don't know, then they got motorcycles in here. I don't know what that's all about. Who rides a motorcycle in January? I don't understand that at all.
My son.
The speed limit, they got the speed limit at 39 miles an hour. That's a complete fabrication. The last time they did it, it was 49 miles an hour. I went out and bought a radar gun. Every freaking car is doing between 40 and 50 miles an hour. I don't know where they come up with this 39 mile an hour stuff. They got the tractor trailers going faster than the cars. There's something wrong with this, what's going on here. So, I guess my question is, what the hell's going on around here? I mean, this is, what's it going to take? The road was already a no passing zone. One of the geniuses at the police department put it back into speeding. I had a head-on collision out there. 2 little kids laying on the side of the road. From what I understand, one of them didn't make it.
Mr. Ryberger, thank you. Your time has ended.
It's up.
It's over.
All right, well, I got the pictures. Here's the report, so.
All right, you can handle
And the videos are there, so I'm not making none of this stuff up.
We're going to take the people off the list first. Yeah, it's okay. You'll still get your opportunity.
Let me know when.
Ryan Chiarelli?
Thank you. My name's Ryan Ciccarelli, and I live at 183 West 6th Street. My wife and I have lived in Howell for 3 years now, and this is our first home. We love our house and our property, but for the last 8 months, my property has slowly been damaged more and more. 8 months ago, in August of 2023, my neighbor converted from well and septic system to public water and sewer. Within 1 week of the project being completed, my yard and driveway began to flood. My yard has been flooded ever since. I've completely lost a quarter of my front yard. Some parts are up to nearly a foot deep, and that's not an exaggeration. By September 2023, less than a month after the project was completed, I made Howell Township aware of this via your online request tracker, request ID 10067. The ticket was assigned to Howell Engineering Department, and the ticket is still open today and has not been updated once by Howell Township or the Engineering Department. I followed up on the ticket over 3 times in the last 7 months and still have not received a single update in writing. About 2 months ago, after about 2 months of 0 updates on the ticket, I reached directly out to Justin Yost, the Deputy Director of Community Development in Howell. On the phone, he stated that he was already aware of the situation and has been discussing with the homeowner of my next door neighbor, because my next door neighbor does not own the house, he rents. He said give him some time and to hold off on doing anything, so I gave Justin some time. After another month, I called back and was told the same thing, to wait. I mentioned hiring a company to fix the water issue, and he told me not to do so because it was obvious that this was caused by the recent construction on my neighbor's property. I should not be the one to fix this or pay for this, according to Justin. He stated that if the homeowner refuses to do anything, the town would start writing zoning violations. Still to this day, I do not believe any violation has been written. Despite being told to do nothing, out of my desperation, I contacted Ecosystems Total Outdoor Solutions based out of Freehold. The service manager came out to give me an estimate, and they completely turned down the job due to the amount of water on my property. In January of 2024, we contacted the sewer department because the water and the smell. The sewer department came out and confirmed via a wand, which I'm not sure what it is, but it's some type of magnetic wand that they had, that there does seem to be an underground pipe in my front yard, running across mine and my neighbor's driveways, and it drains into my neighbor's property, and then eventually across the street into a creek. Another month went by without any updates, so I called back in February of 2024, and Justin told me to come to this building, and I did have a meeting with Justin. He had a survey on file, and that survey did indeed show that there is a drainage pipe running from my house across to my neighbor's house, and eventually draining across the street like the sewer department assumed. Most likely, the construction crew blocked or crushed the drainage pipe on my neighbor's side of the property. Even if that was not the case, Justin stated that clearly the downstream flow of water has changed due to the recent construction on my neighbor's property. I asked Justin what is being done about this, and he stated again that if the homeowner refuses to fix this, the town will start writing zoning violations to the homeowner of my neighbor's house. Still, no tickets were written. Finally, Justin reached out last month in March of 2024 and stated the Department of Public Works would be coming to my house, draining the water, finding the drainage pipe, and putting a camera in the pipe, and if the blockage was found to be on my neighbor's side, the homeowner of my next door neighbor's house would have 2 weeks to fix it. A week later, the Department of Public Works did come to my house, they drained the water, and they found a pipe. The only drainage pipe that I know exists on my property, although Justin, who was at my house at the time, stated that it's not the pipe in the survey. When I asked about putting a camera in the pipe, the Department of Public Works told me that that's not even possible, even though Justin told me a week earlier that that was the plan. We are now 8 months since it started and 7 months since I've made Howell Township aware of this. Zero action has been taken against the homeowner, and the standing water continues to get worse. My wife and I can no longer walk out of our driveway, get our mail, or take our garbage to the curb without knee-high fishing boots. I can no longer mow part of my lawn that was once green and beautiful. I've completely lost a quarter of my front yard. Delivery drivers are afraid to use my driveway because of the amount of water. In the warmer months, you can see bugs and mosquitoes along the top of the water. Besides the health hazard to me and my neighbors, my wife is now 4 months pregnant with our first child, and I'm already scared for the health of my unborn baby. I've been continuously told to wait and do nothing. Absolutely no construction or changes were made to my property to cause this issue. I feel as if I'm being lied to and gaslit by Justin and the town. I've reached out to the Department of Environmental Protection, the Governor's Office, Monmouth County Mosquito Commission, as well as other county and state departments, and I've received replies quicker from them than I have from Howell Township. Justin made it a point to tell me last week that the Department of Environmental Protection has reached out to him. I will continue to exhaust all resources until this is resolved, and I am contemplating hiring a lawyer to take legal action. I have photos of before and after of my property here with me. I've got the printed online request ticket that still has 0 updates, and I also have additional...
Ryan, your time has ended. Thank you.
Do you want any of the documentation?
You can hand it to me.
Yes, please. I have a couple of questions, if I may. I was just wondering if the homeowner did it themselves or was asked to change over to, well, they were well and septic and then they went.
I have no idea. I'll get the ticket. If there's ticket numbers in there, I'll talk to Justin in the morning about it. So.
And the other one is if he is on sewer or well and septic.
Oh.
Are you on sewer or well and septic?
I am on public sewer and public water, and it was converted before me and my wife bought the house.
Okay.
But my neighbor just converted last year.
There's, okay, thank you. Dan Smith?
You can scratch that, Mayor. We're good. Daniel and Deborah. We're good.
You're good? Okay. Debbie Smith? Oh, same. Is there anyone else that wants to come up and speak who's not on the list?
Your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening. Anna Christian's daughter, 11 Mouse Creek Court here in Howell. Good evening. Backstory a little bit. I've been appointed as a Howell Farmers Advisory Committee member, and in service to the community, we decided we needed to bridge the gap a little bit between the community and the farmers. So a couple of us established the Howell Farmers United Facebook website, and I am here on behalf of Howell Farmers United. And I will read my statement now. Okay. We respectfully request the Howell Township Council, can you hear me?
Yes.
Formulate a statement to act in support of farms and innovative farming initiatives. Howell Farmers United was established to bridge the gap of communication between farmers, public, and representative council, while establishing a positive interaction and encouraging growth and sustainability of our farms. Serving to enhance farming potential, hoping to help evolve our farms with support of creative and interactive approaches, allowing farms to learn and support each other. There are very bright and powerful options for growth of our farms when we have the support of our township. A big problem in our society is there are so many means of communication that information is easily distorted and important ideas get lost. This gap we intend to bridge. Our society cannot afford our farming needs to be overlooked and abandoned due to the many government and state initiatives now being used to develop society. We watch as Trenton aggressively is seeking land for mandated affordable housing acts. And I lost my place here. I have plenty of time.
That's okay.
Yeah. As corporations and LLCs are competing for warehouse approvals, while we encounter continuous harassment from lawyers threatening lawsuits. We do not have much protection of land, infrastructure, and property struggling with managing their assets. This has led to a political movement dictating the way, using special interest groups and other resources empowering lawyers and corporations to have the bigger impact on our community development, while leaving behind the most precious gifts that everyone sees, namely our environment. We need a definitive form of action plan from our council to acknowledge farms and farming as our most beneficial asset. We encourage our town council to use this resource, Howell Farmers United, as one reference in starting to get to know our farms as powerful assets to this community. A statement to act in support and protection of our farms is imperative at this stage in evolution for us all. This includes all people benefiting from our highly commercialized society. Please protect what is most important to us all. We encourage you to do everything you can within your power to help sustain, innovate, and grow farming potential with public policy. We encourage farmers to use this resource to further collaborate and gain the momentum with a wide variety of opportunities the farmers have. We want our farms to serve as a model to develop the best evolutionary course our society can take. We are ready and willing to help you in the formation of such priorities. Let's not fail ourselves by failing agricultural development in all its potential. Let's not fail in communication, the most basic human tool. Let's strive to allow agricultural potential to lead our way forward. It is the most human thing we can do. Thank you all for listening and for making this a priority in your service to the Howell community. We encourage you to share this with Trenton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
Lawrence White, 15 Renway. Happy to report I've returned to my residence as of 1 week ago. I'm back, folks. Two things. Number one, I want to speak in support of the farmers. I was here at the last council meeting, and there seemed to be a lot of interest and outreach from the council members to address the needs of the farmers here in Howell. Unfortunately, our township employees, rather than going to the farmers and asking them what they need and then trying to give it to them, decided on their own what they ought to have. And therefore, there's a big conflict there. So I hope that the council members this evening will satisfy the needs of the farmers and ensure their viability going forward. Second of all, this story of my neighbor over here with the flooded front yard reminded me that last summer, new stormwater regs were issued by the state, and this township is supposed to conform to them. They have, I believe, a year to do so. Well, that was last summer, and now it's April, and I haven't heard word one about it. In the meantime, we continue to have projects approved under the old stormwater regs, which are obviously inadequate, or there wouldn't be new ones that were sent down by the state to us to conform to. So I'm just wondering what's going on with that. And, you know, as my grandma said, the cow's already out the barn.
Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak?
Good evening, Betty Velez Gimbel, 97 Victory Road, owner of Squonkam Brook Farm. It's been 2 weeks since the mayor and council members assured the farmers this would be fast-tracked. Had we not reached out on Thursday to Mr. Clark, we would not have heard anything. It's been 26 days since our submission of the letter, 124 days since the initial meeting with Councilwoman O'Donnell, when the proposed ordinances were pulled due to the opposition from local farmers. Some farms have been met with resistance from this same administration as far back as 2015 and 2016 and 18. Bear Creek Herbery came before you, the council, on October 2021 and July 2022 to plead to do business, and were told the master plan would address it. The master plan did address events in 2022, yet those who developed those proposed ordinances have not incorporated it. You commented at our last Farmers Advisory Committee meeting, Councilwoman O'Donnell, that you were surprised and thought that there would be more farmers involved. We have been involved. Unfortunately, farmers are also in fear of retaliation. We've been meeting for 4 months in homes, greenhouses, and farm workshops. We've mailed 163 letters. We've developed the Howell Farmers United and established a Facebook page. We've developed a well-organized oppositional letter supported by New Jersey law and New Jersey code as requested by the township manager, Joe Clark. We delivered. I'd like to refer to the letter, a couple of points. We requested a revision to the proposed definition of farm-related special events because the township is grouping the agritourism and direct marketing activities, okay, with special events. They are not the same, okay? We agreed that weddings, birthday parties, anniversary parties, and other milestone events that do not relate to on-site operations of the farm are considered special events. So we need those separated, because we do have a right to farm, and that includes direct marketing and agritourism. The small-scale related events for 30 or guests, we had disagreed because this was a restrictive approach stifling growth and sustainability and represents more government intervention than necessary to achieve the town's objectives. Most importantly, this places undue financial hardship and conflicts with the intentions of the governing body of the state of New Jersey, who envisioned fostering sustainability and viability in the Right to Farm Act and the Agricultural Retention and Development Act. Although the township maintains that 30 was the number that they were comfortable with, again, we requested 100 guests. They also maintained that the municipalities were going to be held, the municipality was going to be held liable. Well, we do know that municipalities have certain immunities and are protected by the personal injury under New Jersey statute Title 59. As Larry White said earlier, the warehouses continue to submit applications despite our administration having not adopted the new stormwater regulations set forth by the state. No one is stopping them because the town isn't ready. Matt Howard said it's costly and the town shouldn't be the first to do it. I guess he's waiting for other towns to adopt first. No one stopped those huge house rental parties during the shutdown until an ordinance was adopted. Why are the farmers being held hostage until an ordinance is adopted? What's the status of the proposed ordinances? What law firm is reviewing the letter? I would also like to know who developed the proposed ordinances to begin with. And we also request a meeting to review the revisions prior to introducing the new ordinances. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mark Parisi, 2 Castle Court.
Hello.
Hi. Well, I mean, when I came here in January of '23, when Councilman Gazier and Councilwoman Fisher and Councilman Nadell was not here, but were sworn in, I vividly remember everybody spoke, and you guys said really beautiful things. The one thing that stood out to me most was you talked about quality of life was going to be your priority when you got on council. And I didn't plan on speaking tonight, but I came here tonight and I see all these farmers and other people that are coming up. And what are they talking about? They're talking about quality of life issues. You have a gentleman, Mr. Aberger here, who's been here how many times talking about the speeding on Arnold Boulevard? I don't believe that he's making this up. I mean, everybody that lives in this town has driven down Randolph to Arnold to cut over Ramtown. Everybody knows that they're speeding on that road. I mean, I probably have sped down that road before. So
We have you on video now.
So I mean, like, you know, like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, let's take a look at this and see what we can do, even if we just lower the speed limit at, like, 5 or 10 miles an hour, something, you know? I hear this gentleman talking about the flooding that's going on his property. It's not just his property. I mean, there's people that are up in the Fairfields Road that are talking about how there's still flooding on that road after they built the rock-solid warehouse. There was another gentleman talking about how there's flooding over where the FP Howell project is being built. There was somebody, I'm trying to remember, the Kellys that were here after Howell family apartments were built and how their place got flooded. I mean, these aren't just isolated issues. I mean, there's a problem with the stormwater management. Why haven't the regs been updated? They just approved the Turpac project up on off of West Farms Road, 458 units under the old stormwater regulations. Like, why didn't we get our regs in place before you build a residential subdivision with 450 units? I mean, there's a lot of things that make me scratch my head and wonder what is going on. And, I didn't plan on speaking tonight, but, you guys know I follow a lot of the local issues. I come up here and I speak. I talk to several of you privately, from time to time about different issues. I think we have a good rapport. I think you all know that I'm coming from a good place, an informed place. And before I forget, Councilwoman O'Donnell, I want to extend my condolences over the passing of your father. I saw it online, and I did reach out and send you a message, but I don't know if you got it. You're welcome. That's my main concern. But when it comes to the farmer stuff, because I know obviously there's the majority of people here tonight are about the farming stuff. I looked at the master plan recommendations from May of '22 that talked about a recommendation that they allow banquet uses on qualified farms up to 200 guests. It's there in your master plan. You guys are the policymakers of our town. They're the professionals that guide you through these decisions, but ultimately it's up to you guys to adopt policies, ordinances that they're responsible for implementing and enforcing. And if it's your vision that there should be qualified farmers should be able to have events, certain farms that want to host weddings and parties or what have you, it's right there in your master plan. You can direct your administration to draft an ordinance that's consistent with the recommendations in the master plan, because that's the policy that you want in town. And you can tweak it and add some other language in there that maybe buttons up some issues, but if that's the quality of life issue that you want, then you can go ahead and address it how you see fit. Since you are our elected officials, we're busy working, raising families, and we rely upon you guys to lead this town with ordinances and policies. So that's really all I have to say tonight. But I understand things aren't easy at times, but please continue to make quality of life that priority that you said that you would. Thank you.
Good evening. Elaine Taylor, Maxim Southard Road. I'm the chairwoman of the Farmers Advisory, and everyone has very eloquently spoken, so I'm just going to follow up with a few things. Of course, we're asking for your support in realistic help with the ordinances and the amount of people that, we can have at events. That's a given. We all know that. We need support from you and the residents and everyone in the town to help support the farmers, all of our endeavors, because we work very hard. And I feel that at this point in time, we have to think about how important it is for everyone to support our local farmers and to have everyone shop locally, support their farmers as much as possible. So I just can't express enough how important that is for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mary Pahira, 171 Route 537. I'm from Colts Neck. I happen to own a small business myself, the Colts Neck General Store and Deli. I'm here tonight because as a fellow small business owner, a few weeks back I happened to stop over at the Herbery. I was looking to have my sister's bridal shower over there, and then that's when I really started getting caught up as to what was going on with the farmers here. And it made me very sad. It made me so sad to hear that, and especially after COVID, and everyone's lives were affected, no matter what, your jobs, your businesses, your families. I myself am still every day digging my way out of all the income that I had lost from COVID. And I feel like to put these restrictions on these other businesses that have families and employees that are trying to get by and to make ends meet in an economy that is so tough these days. Places are closing left and right. People are losing their jobs every which way you turn. It's like this is just keeping your foot on the neck of someone who's already down as hard as they are. I'm begging you, for the sake of all of them, if you want to, change your wording a little bit, because I understand that some farms are bigger than others and all, but this is their livelihood. Let them have the fighting chance to provide for their families and their employees. Give them the chance to do the right thing. Please, I beg of you. Thank you.
So I just have to say something, honestly.
You know what, maybe wait to remark until after everybody's had a chance to speak, Mayor.
I just wanted to clarify that we are supportive.
Hello, everyone. Susan Springer, Bear Creek Herbery.
Evelyn, so sorry to hear about your dad. We know he was a farmer here in Howell. I'm not going to take long. I have copies of a lot of comments off of our petition, which we've been running now for 3.5 years. I've given you all copies at, past meetings. We're up to 5,625 signatures. So I'm not going to take any more time to read them. I'm going to hand them out, or Elaine, and she'll give them to you, and you can all read them before you go to bed tonight. And please, they're all people in your community who are dying to help the farmers preserve the rural beauty of Howell. We have an opportunity to do that, and we're just asking you to help us survive. Thank you.
I have a comment about something.
Your name and address for the record?
Am I allowed to speak now?
Your name and address for the record?
Yeah, sorry. I'm Gabriella Green. I'm 242 Larchwood Court. I didn't know all this was happening tonight, but I'm totally in support of what everybody's been saying about the farms. I think that's super important to our community. I've actually come tonight to ask you to pass a resolution that honors the sanctity of life and ensures the path to peace. As an American citizen, I feel outraged and heartbroken that I unwillingly play a part in funding the killing of Palestinians through my tax dollars, and even more so knowing that the people in Congress refuse to listen to what a majority of Americans want, which is a ceasefire, and for humanitarian aid to get to the 2.3 million starving and forcibly homeless citizens in Gaza. I know people jump to bringing up the hostages taken by Hamas whenever the topic of a ceasefire comes up, and that this has been the justification for what Israel has been doing these past 175 odd days. However, there are over 9,000 Palestinians in unjust detainment. 3,765 of them are in administrative detainees held without charge, evidence, or due process. And among those are 227 women and also 460 are children. So when people justify Israel's brutal assault and unjust killings of over 36,000 people in Palestine, not even addressing those being killed and bombed and taken hostage in the West Bank where there are no Hamas terrorists, how can we not look as well at all of the Palestinians that were being held by Israel and still are being held by Israel to this day? How can we call for the release of hostages taken by Hamas while simultaneously turning a blind eye towards not only the incessant brutal killings and starvations and displacements of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, but also of all the people taken captive by the IDF soldiers? Reaching out to our New Jersey politicians day after day has shown me just how unjust American politics really is, how little they care for what we truly want. There are hundreds of calls from my comrades every day to our senators and reps, and only one rep in New Jersey has called for a ceasefire. If our politicians refuse to do the right thing, I implore you to show that the community of Howell stands on the side of humanity and to call for a ceasefire. Many people feel it's anti-Semitic to want the siege on Gaza to end, but how can it be anti-Semitic to want to save more people from dying horrible deaths? There is a complete difference in being a supporter of what Netanyahu is doing to being part of the Judaism religion, and people have been trying to blur the line since October 7th in some sort of way to weaponize any retaliation against what is going on by calling it an attack on their religion, when that is obviously not the case. A ceasefire is our first step to getting the hostages back on both sides, and more death will not solve anything. Why can we not negotiate diplomatically in a way that nobody gets bombed and starved and displaced and tortured? We have learned time and time again that war is not the answer. It does not bring our country justice, does not do anything but bring about unnecessary death to innocents. That is once again what is happening in Palestine, with the U.S. funding it completely. We are paying with our tax money for these inhumane actions, so we not only have a responsibility morally as citizens, but also as taxpayers in this country. In Howell Township alone, $666,895 goes to fund Israel's military yearly. Again, every single year, the citizens of Howell are giving a sum of $666,895 to bomb Palestinians. That money could be used on our community instead. We could help house families that are low income, help feed those who are hungry, help fund our education system, and so on. To put things into perspective, every 10 minutes a child in Gaza dies. Having done the math recently, the amount of children that have died since October 7th in Gaza is more than double the amount of students in our schools in Howell. This is a war on children, this is a complete act of genocide, and if Netanyahu truly felt this was the only way to retrieve the hostages, why were multiple Israeli hostages who were being let go killed by the IDF soldiers themselves? Why have there been countless amounts of children sniper shot in the head? To get that type of accuracy, you know exactly who it is you're targeting, and I know for a fact that a young child is not some sort of evil terrorist. New polling data shows that 67% of Americans, Republican and Democrat alike, want a ceasefire, and our politicians still refuse to represent us. So that is why I have come to you today, hoping that our community can join alongside the other brave communities in New Jersey and the U.S. that have called for a ceasefire despite everything. I implore you to please be brave enough to stand against what those in power want us to come to, and to instead stand alongside the other communities in New Jersey that have called for a ceasefire so that we can band together as people and stand for what is right, for the sanctity of human life, and for an end to suffering on both sides of this horrific attack. We need to show as the community of Howell that we stand for what is right, for what is humane, and implore our government to stop funding the war with our money.
Gabriella, your time has ended. Thank you.
I sent a copy of the
Thank you.
resolution through the
Gabriella, thank you.
Thank you.
We have it.
Is there anyone else coming up to speak?
John Leggio, 9 Livingston Drive. You know, I've been thinking about a lot of this stuff with the farming going on, you know, the past probably 6 months, a year, because I'm also on the planning board, and I see what went on with the master plan and some of the amendments that were done and that we voted on, which is great for the town. But the farmers have a right to get this stuff done in a more speedy fashion. I just don't understand all the red tape. So, you know, there's an old saying, let's ask for forgiveness instead of permission, right? There's a lot of stuff is going on in town that isn't asking for permission to do what they're doing. They're going to ask for forgiveness when they get caught. So my recommendation to the farmers is, if our professionals don't want to get it done, if the council don't want to get it done as a team, then just do what you guys want to do on these farms, okay? Make your extra money, raise your revenue, whatever you have to do to support your families. And if you get caught, then you ask Mr. Howard and Mr. Clark for forgiveness after the fact. Because I see a lot of stuff going on in town that's not being handled, as far as houses that are single family, that have 6, 7 families living in them now, businesses that are being run out of homes, okay? I go around town every day, and it's the same houses. I've contacted Mr. Clark. He's not here today. I mean, not Mr. Clark, Mr. Howard, to defend himself multiple times, and nothing is being done. So if nothing's going to be done by the professionals, then all you farmers go out, have your parties, raise your money, and when they send you a letter to cease operations, tell them to go take it where the sun don't shine.
Is there anyone else at this time?
Patty Kelly, 615 Fort Plains Road, Howell. This is just crazy beyond belief. I try to vote the right people in, but obviously I keep making the same mistakes. Affordable housing, we needed the numbers. My yard is flooded. My quality of life is done. Other farmers, you're building warehouses. Their quality of life is going to be done because their farms are going to be flooded. Making laws against vaping shops because parents can't parent their kids, but waiting for the farmers waiting and waiting to feed their families with their farms. And you guys are dragging your feet, waiting for what? I just don't understand anymore. My yard is a mess. Drainage basin, that was supposed to be a drainage basin, is now draining into the township and county property, flooding my backyard, my horses, my leach field, my septic tank, my neighbor's septic tank, my neighbor's basement, my basement. Never, 30 years. Affordable housing went up, college-educated engineers. It won't go south, it won't run downhill. We'll give you a makeshift berm that we think will work. Well, not working. You put too many buildings in there to begin with and didn't care. Fire trucks aren't able to turn around in parking lots. They have to go out the inns. You're doing it all over town, and you continue to do it over and over and over again. I watch it on YouTube. I watch the planning boards, the zoning boards. It's the same thing from 10 years ago when we were fighting that the affordable housing was too much, too many buildings in one spot. I understand we needed the affordable housing, we needed the numbers. We don't need these warehouses. We don't need the numbers. Maybe the money, but quality of life is being ruined for the farmers, for the community. Sunnyside Road in Fort Plains, that's going to be your next mess of flooding. Guarantee people aren't going to even be able to use Fort Plains Road when it rains like this because of Sunnyside and Fort Plains and because of the affordable housing mess. You're doing it again and again and again and again. People come and fight, people come and argue, people come and plead, tell you over and over again, and over again I hear the same things, the same things. I don't come to the meetings. I watch them afterwards or watch them on YouTube. And I get annoyed all over again because it's the same old, same old. But yet, everybody that's elected in, quality of life, keep our farms, keep our land, and you do the exact opposite. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Leslie Chalier, 22 McGill Road. I own a Q farm, rescue animals. My husband and I are fairly new to this township. We moved here approximately, I would say, 4 years now. When I was a little girl, we didn't have much, and my father used to put us in the car on a Sunday and take us up to the country to look at animals. They were free, to perhaps get a bag of apples because it was cheap. And that stuck with me. And so when we were looking for property, my dad was able to help us purchase a farm in Howell. Monmouth County is not easy to live in. The taxes are extremely high. Quality of life, it's going downhill. I love this area. Sometimes I take a drive on a Sunday just to look around, and I see all these farms. It's beautiful. And I just feel like this shouldn't even be a matter in this day and age. It's so hard for farmers to make a living, not to mention like health insurance. They have to pay their own. I can't even imagine in this day and age how they're making it. So I am in full support of the farmers in this town and hoping that a resolution is made soon. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to come up? May I have a motion to close the public comment?
Motion to close.
A second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I started to say before, and I want to say it again, I doubt very much that anybody sitting around this entire dais is against the farmers. That's not what this is about. It's not what it's not. It's about safety, and we're trying to figure that out. So I know that it might not be as fast as you might need it to happen, but each farm is different. Can a farm fit the parking or not fit the parking? Are you going to be parking on the street versus, these are all questions that we don't have all the answers to. I am in full support. I would love to be able to go in and have a dinner party, but I just want to we're trying to make sure that it's just done correctly. Who's going to have a kitchen, who won't have a kitchen, who's going to have food brought in. There are so many different variables. Just if you look at that on that side of the ledger, it's not as quick and easy to say we're going to make that change.
Public comment is closed.
Well, I'm just, again, take it for what it's worth. I believe in the farms, I believe in this town, and I've never once voted for anything that was not good development. So, that being said.
Sure. So,
Mr. Clark?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So with regard to Mr. Ray Berger and the speeding, I'll note that for the record, Arnold Boulevard's a 35-mile-an-hour road and has been for about 20 years. We are doing targeted enforcement out there. We're looking to put up different signals. We've done probably more traffic studies on that road than any other road in town. So I will speak to the police chief again. I understand what he's saying, but that video that he sends is an all too common problem on a lot of our streets, and we're dealing with it wherever we can. So that is something that I will speak to Chief Starr in the morning. Mr. Ciccarelli, I have his information. I'll talk to Justin and reach back out to him. The farms, generally, we are working on the regs. It is not as simple as taking a broad statement in the master plan and then tweaking it. There has to be, as the mayor noted, some kind of rational regulations in place that accounts for a lot of different factors. Now, we had originally proposed something back at the end of last year that met with opposition, so it wound up being pulled. And I will note for the record, just for the people out there who may think we sit on our hands and do nothing, it took us 2 months to get a response from Ms. Taylor to have a meeting. So that wasn't until February. And we have been moving as quickly as we can since then. We have been looking at the law, and I will note that that 7-page letter, and it's no offense to whomever wrote it because there was clearly a lot of time and effort and thought put into it, but there's a lot of flaws in it that we need to work through. So, you know, obviously we're having Ms. Harney look at it, and we're having her work through it, and we're having her sort of put together what we can and can't do. We have to talk to our planning board attorney, which we've done in terms of getting his guidance on what the MLUL may or may not allow in this situation, because let's not forget, what we're doing here is we're carving out an exception to it. We're creating a permit for certain parties that doesn't exist. Right now, if you guys were to do nothing, then every farm here would have to come in for either site plan or a use variance. There is a way to get to do the events that they want to do. We're just trying to streamline that process, and no other municipality in the state, as far as I know, has done this yet. So we are in uncharted territories. We are moving through it as best we can, and with full cognizance of the fact that there are different size farms and different size events that are going to require different types of regulations. And unfortunately, that does take time. And, you know, that's where we are with that. I would not recommend, contrary to what Mr. Leggio said, don't just have the parties. You know, it's probably not the best advice. And in terms of the stormwater regs that Mr. White had referred to, I'll talk to Matt and Justin about that, and we'll figure out where we stand with regard to that. There are some wrinkles under those new regs that we're working through right now. And then one final thing. I'm not sure who it was, but somebody said that we have Title 59 immunity for stuff that we do. Not in every case. And if we willfully disregard dangers of these events and that, we could find ourselves without immunity, which means then that the taxpayers are on the hook as a result. So it's another reason for us to proceed a little bit cautiously. So that's, and then in terms of Ms. Green, I admire her passion on the issue, and I'll let Caitlin handle that one.
Yeah, so I'll jump into Ms. Green's comments. Thank you for coming. It's always really nice to have an informed citizenry commenting on these issues. I have a copy of the proposed resolution that you forwarded, so we thank you for that. Processes to get resolutions in front of council is doing exactly what you did tonight. You come, you speak, you can give us copies of proposed resolutions. It'll ultimately be up to council if they want to move forward with it or not, but you're welcome to come back to future meetings, and public comment's always open for you.
Joe, I have a question for you. I know we speak at length about this with you, all of us, and we talked about it tonight, about these farm ordinances. Do we have any light at the end of the tunnel with those?
Yes. Yes. So we did speak to Mr. Cacciaro, our planning board attorney. We are coming up with a couple things. First, the permit process that Mr. Howard had spoken about, where people who want to have parties will be able to come in and apply for a permit rather than go through site plan. We're looking to ease up on some of our site plan checklist to make it a little bit easier for these farms to hold events. And then only in the most broad, narrow of cases would we say you have to go in for a full use variance. So we are trying to create a whole regulatory sort of protocol here that's unique to farms. Now, part of the problem with doing that is if you do something for one set of people, you're not doing it for another, and we have to be, certain that we are able to do this in a way that's fair across the board. And if another business were to come into town and challenge it, that it would survive a legal challenge. Not an easy thing to do, because on the face of it, you are favoring one set of residents potentially over others. So, that's the type of needle that we're looking to thread. I think we can do it. It is taking more time than I think most people are happy with. Believe me, I don't know anybody on this side of the podium that is happy with where we are with it. I know that everybody on the dais is reaching out constantly to keep us moving, which we're doing. So, we've heard everybody loud and clear, and we're moving as fast as we can to get the regulations in place while we're still protecting the town.
Mr. Clark, could we address Ms. Kelly's concern of affordable housing and how that's affected the flooding on the Fort Plains Road area?
Sure. I will have to speak with Justin. I think that is by Howell Family Apartments, so I would have to go back and dive into that file and take a look exactly what was approved and not. I recall her being at meetings in the past and that there was some action taken to improve the situation, so I will look into that, and then I'll either have a report at next meeting, or before then I'll share it with all of you as well so that you're aware of it.
But what I do remember is that it didn't really improve.
That I don't know. I don't know what exactly happened, so I will have to look back at it.
Okay.
Mayor, are we doing our reports now as well?
If you want to.
Council?
Sure.
Well, all right, well, let me just back up with reference to the farmers and the concerns. There's a meeting every month that I've gone to since November, and I still urge the group to meet, possibly even in smaller groups with administration, possibly to narrow down on things. As you know, and we've gone over this at every meeting, the different types of farms will have different standards by virtue of the fact of size and the type of special events. So this is all about special events that the state said could be done on certain parcels. There has been nothing taken away from a farmer for right to farm. So that's a different level, and we all realize, I know the farmers certainly realize, the right to farm is totally different than the special event situation. So if the public wants to, dive into this a little further, probably the Farmers Advisory and Preservation Committee, which is now joint, I'm sure public can attend if you would like further information. But we need to key down further, and that's from all sides, from farmer side, from administration side, from council side. If council doesn't understand something, I'm happy to go to every meeting. I'm happy to attend even smaller meetings. And, I said to Mrs. Taylor, anytime you want to meet with administration with just a few people, I'm happy to do so. Just try to give me a day's notice so that I can rearrange anything if need be. Anything we can do to expedite, I am happy to try to assist. And I realize it's a long process. When the state said that they would allow special events, they just said that we'll have special events. And there were no guidelines. And the county says you can do special events, but you must adhere to the township's rules and regs. You can have special events, but nobody has any guidance. So it falls to the township to do many things. Protect the farmer, protect the neighbor that you're having the event next door to protect the rest of the township that may or may not understand that what affects a special event on a farm doesn't mean that a retail store gets the same caveat for that special event. So I know the farmers do understand that it's a multi-level situation. And I'm going to call it a problem because with the state saying you can do it without giving guidance, that was extremely poor on the state's and really negligent, that there was no guidance from really from the Ag Board. They just said, you can do it, just make sure you have to go back to your town first. So, if you keep following the wheel, it'll keep going round and round, as we all see. So it's frustrating on every level. It's disappointing that here we are in April and we don't have a resolution when we started in November. So as we all know, grow season's already started. People that want parties, they would have already booked. I mean, this has turned into a bad situation for everybody that's trying to get ahead. We also know that special events cannot be held by every farm in every instance by the same level. That wasn't the intention that the state had. That's not what they said, and that's not the extension of farming that they were looking to give to the farmers to enhance their income. Because as we all know, farming is extremely expensive. So it's a multi-level problem. And as much as Howell has always been a farming community, we're losing it. And we're losing it at a rapid speed, not because of special events. We're losing it because the environment of this country has changed to such a horrible level that farming is no longer carried from generation to generation. You can no longer be a farmer just by working hard. If you're going to do a big farm, you need big equipment. A combine is not a $5,000 used tractor. You can be looking upward to $800,000, $900,000. It is a brand new, horrible world for farmers. Secondly, I want to remind everyone that in May, first Thursday of May, we have National Night of Prayer, which we host at Howell Township every year, and we'll be doing so again. There are some flyers on a small table near the restrooms. You're invited to take one. I'm asking you to consider marking your calendar to come out that night and to share some thoughts, to be with like-minded people that are thankful. And every year we have several different clergy that come, several different religions are represented. I think last year we had 5. There's not only prayer and thoughtfulness, but music, and certainly community gets to share with each other something that lacks in all communities, and I would say across this country, which is a reverence and a respect for fellow man and for God. So I would ask you to consider coming out that day.
Evelyn, what was the date of that again?
May 5. May 5. No, I'm sorry. Thursday, May 2nd. I'm sorry. And lastly, I just thank everybody that's reached out to my family and myself about my dad. I appreciate those words. He was in Virginia at the time, so we had a service in Virginia, and we'll be having the last service in New Jersey. So it's been a several-week process, which has kind of been a little longer than probably most situations, but I do appreciate that people have reached out. It's been very nice. And my father was 101, so he spent most of his life in New Jersey, but the last 30 years in Virginia. And for the reason that he had a small farm in northern Howell, and they built 10 houses behind him. And with that, he said, they're crowding me, I'm leaving. So he went to Virginia and bought 60 acres. So I do get it. And I hear you loud and strong. I mean, he really made a huge change in his life because he could not, he felt he couldn't continue to farm in the way that he always farmed if he had 10 brand new, what he calls the mega mansion houses behind his farm, which I now laugh because that's sort of like the standard home that's built in most cases. But at any rate, again, thank you very much. My entire family is very grateful for your words and your support. So thank you.
Fred or Sue? At this time, may I have a motion for resolutions R24? Does anybody want to pull out a resolution to vote on it separately? Okay. May I have a motion on the consent agenda R24-133 through 24-144?
I'll make a motion to move all of those resolutions inclusive.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Resolution 24-145, amending the 2024 temporary appropriations pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-20 prior to the adoption of the 2024 municipal budget.
Motion to move resolution 24-145.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes.
Unfinished business, ordinance 024-07, an ordinance to extend the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 40A:4-45.14. May I have a motion?
Excuse me, we need to open public hearing?
Open for public hearing. Would anybody comment on 2407? Can I have a motion to close public?
Motion to close public.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
We need a motion to adopt.
We need a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance 24-07.
Second?
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you.
I would like to open to the public for ordinance 24-08, an ordinance of the Township of Howell, the Township of Howell, Monmouth County, amending section 3.7 of Chapter 7, Traffic of the Township Code of the Township of Howell. Would anybody like to speak? May I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt O24-08.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 24-09, ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell. I'm opening to the public. May I have a motion to close?
I'll make a motion to close public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to adopt 24-09?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2449.
2409.
Oh,
Second.
thank you.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you.
Introduction of ordinances. 24-10, ordinance amending Chapter 57, Article 2, Domestic Animals, and amending Chapter 139-2, License, Registration, and Permit Fees of the Township Code of the Township of Howell. May I have a motion to introduce 24-10?
Motion to introduce ordinance 24-10?
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. At this time, I would like to go over the 2024 municipal budget.
I believe we're going to take a 5-minute break.
Okay,
Yeah, why don't we take a short break? I'll get it set up and then we can just
perfect.
come back.
Okay, I'd like to introduce the 2024 municipal budget, budget presentation from our manager and CFO.
All right. It's late, so I will try and move through this as quickly as I can while still making some sense. So we will go through our typical financial background. So in last year, we anticipated a surplus refresh of $5 million or so, which we did. Our miscellaneous revenues were higher than anticipated, and that includes some of the extras from permits, fees, things like that. Our state aid remained flat. Our other revenues basically flat. Delinquent taxes, we had quite a bit come in at the end of last year. Our property taxes doing very good. And our reserve for uncollected taxes was as expected, which left us with an anticipated number of 59 million for the year and a realized number of 66. So our tax collection, as you can see, was 98.33, which was a 0.61% increase, which is a very good rate. Here is our current fund appropriations, and this is what we had in the budget, including Chapter 59. Those are our expenditures. So we were 2.2 million to the good at the end of the year. So we had appropriation reserves of 2.1, and then certain appropriations that we had tagged were canceled completely. So that was at the end of last year. Their dates, debt statement summary. We are always in very good shape when it comes to that. Our statutory net debt as of the end of last year was 83.6 million. The percentage of that debt to our 3-year average equalized valuation, it's not even a percent. We're at 0.878%. So our borrowing capacity is tremendous. Our maximum borrowing capacity, which is 3.5% of our equalized valuation basis, which is $9.5 billion. We could borrow up to $333 million. We have statutory debt of about $83 million, so we have a lot of headroom if we ever needed to borrow, which we do not. And here's a slide illustrating our current fund debt service. Just draw attention. So you have our general obligation bonds of 49 million, capital leases of 6.9 million, and our bond anticipation notes of 16.8 million. It adds up to slightly less than our statutory net debt because there are certain amounts of debt that have been authorized by ordinance but not yet bonded. So this is a reflection of where we actually are versus where we could theoretically be. And then for 2023, our fund balance, which is more colloquially known as surplus, is very healthy. We started last year with 11.7 million. We used 5 million, which was a fairly conservative amount. That left us a subtotal of almost 7 million. This year, we refreshed the surplus about $7.8 million from a variety of sources, which left us with an ending balance of $14.6 million. So we could safely use more than last year in this year's budget while still having an $8 million balance for next year. I'll go into a little bit more detail, but we are in sort of unprecedented times in terms of certain things like insurance rates. We got hit with a huge rate increase last year. Gas and asphalt are still trending high. This year, it was our liability insurance that was higher than normal. So having a healthy surplus is very helpful to us overall for these sort of unanticipated spikes. Then we are into our 2024 budget. As always, we'll start with sewer utility. Do you want to walk us through the sewer utility? So I'll have Lou walk us through the sewer utility.
Sure. Just a similar recap of the performance that the utility had last year. We anticipated $650,000 in surplus. The sewer fees were achieved and exceeded. Our payments from New Jersey from New Jersey American Water on par as well, and the miscellaneous revenue interest on investments is obviously we're in a high interest rate market right now. A significant amount of connection fees to the utility, so we were able to out of the 7.48 that was anticipated, we realized 8.8, so another good draw back into surplus. And a summary of the 23 sewer utility appropriations. 7.482 was approved in the 23 budget. 6.89 was spent, which left 590 left at the end of the year. There was certain expendeds that was unused that was rolled right back into surplus this year, so it leaves us with an appropriation reserve for this year of 2024 of $175,000. And a little snapshot of the sewer utility debt. And the proposed budget for the sewer utility is increasing about $150,000. Most under the other expenses is our payment to the Manasquan River Sewerage Authority for our annual costs. Usually there's an increase every year by the authority that's passed through by the Ocean County Utilities Authority. So a lot of that is encapsulated, and we're billed on an estimate to actual. And in the first quarter of this year, we are usually good for a $500,000 credit. So, and that's, stood par this year as well. Based on the amount of, as you'll see in the next slide or so, there's obviously a significant amount of surplus in there to be able to handle this increase. And this is the proposed. You back a slide. Oh.
So this is the proposed budget for $7,632,000 revenue and appropriations. As you can see, we're anticipating $650,000 in surplus, a minor increase on the sewer fees anticipated. New Jersey American Water is flat as far as anticipated, and we are conservatively anticipating $172,000 in miscellaneous income. And the breakdown across salary and wages, other expenses, debt service, and capital improvement fund. And a snapshot of our surplus. We started last year, 2023, with 2.76. We used $650,000 in last year's budget, and we were able to regenerate almost $1.9 million, which leaves us with just under $4 million in the sewer utility, which again is a healthy surplus to have in the utility as well. And in this year's budget, we are using the same $650,000.
All right, thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Rick.
So that brings us to our municipal budget, and as always, I put out the timeline. It's going to be introduced tonight, advertised April 6th. Our public hearing on the budget will be May 7th, and our proposed adoption will also be on May 7th. And so our budget goals this year was much the same as last year. We wanted to take a conservative approach to budgeting. We want to minimize the impact of the national economy and inflation. We want to provide cost-effective, high-quality services to residents and create a maximum quality of life. We want to develop a long-term capital plan and invest in long-term capital improvements so that we can maintain facilities, replace assets as needed, improve our road infrastructure. And proper planning, it builds in predictability and prevents us from having to absorb spikes in capital expenditures, which leads me to probably my most important point. The use of a responsible amount of surplus in this budget means that we're going to have some left for next year when we're also going to need it. You know, we're anticipating obviously increased costs. We're hearing and we continue to monitor a potential increase in health benefits cost again. So having that cushion, much the same as with the household, is very helpful. So our ratables again increased this year. 2023 it was 9.8 million, and prior to county certification, so right now we're at 10.9 billion. So we went up 1.1 billion. That's an 11.49% increase. So just quickly to run through our demographics, we have 18,000 households, about 3 people per household. Median income is high. It's about 8% higher than Monmouth and 33% higher than all of NJ. The average assessed value of a house in Howell is now $543,000. The average state value is around $365,000. That's as of 2022. The average tax bill in this town last year was $8,766 compared to Monmouth County's average of $10,000 plus and the state average of about $9,500. Chart showing where your tax dollars go. So you see most of that $8,700 average tax bill will go to the schools. That's $3,900 right there. That's Howell K-8, your regional high school. It's about another 18%. Our municipal portion is approximately the same, about 17.8%. The county, about $1,000 or 12%. Followed by our fire districts. Each district is a little bit different, but on average, they're about 5%. And then open space, which is about 1%. And I'll note for the record, and again, I'll thank the voters for passing the referendum in November that will enhance our ability to fund and acquire open space. So thank you. Tax rates calculated in this manner. So you have the total amount that we need to raise divided by the total assessed value of all taxable property in the township. So there, that gives you your tax rate. For this year, our municipal tax rate is 0.302. That's equal to 30 cents of tax on every $100 of assessed property value. So bottom line, and this is probably what everybody's waiting to hear, although the average household assessment rose from $488 in 2023 to $542 in 2024. The average homeowner this year should see a slight decrease of about $6 in the municipal portion of their taxes compared to last year. Once again, we are compliant with all applicable caps. Here's the components of your municipal budget appropriation. So we have salary and wages are by far our largest amount. That's across all of the sectors in the township. We're changing about 1%. Our other expenses, Lou, what are those made up of? If you can just give us an idea.
It's, I mean, basically everything that's covered that isn't under the umbrella. Sorry. It's basic, stuff of nature that's not covered by insurance or debt service, statutory expenditures. So funds that we spend for, supplies and utilities, tires for the vehicles, gasoline, stuff of that nature. Everything that's in this slide specifically, everything that wouldn't fall under salary and wages and insurance and all the other items listed.
So truly a basket.
Pretty much, yes.
So you see our insurance, as I'd said, our rates did increase this year. Our debt service has also gone up. Overall, we're seeing about a $2.3 million increase, about 4%. And here's a further breakdown on salary and wages. So our contractual salary increases for civilians, for our police, the contractual step increases for both the civilian and the police. And for those of you who might be wondering what a step increase is, it's our union agreements have charts in them, the steps. So if you are at X grade and in X year of employment, you will get this salary as your base, and then the next year it will increase by X dollars. It's some agreed upon amount between the union and management. So that is what that covers. So we have promotions due to retirements and resignations. We have had quite a few retirements and resignations this year, and I'll get to that. Our proposed new employees are code enforcement and public works. We have a little bit to say about that. Part-time wages and overtime, the delta on that is about $41,000. I will again acknowledge Chief Starro. He has been working very hard in the police department to moderate overtime, and he's done a tremendous job. As I'd mentioned, we had retirements, resignations, replacement, transfers. That was far and away our biggest savings. We hate to see people go, but the savings are significant for this year. And that has led to the total salary and wages increase to sort of be in the position that it's in. New hiring, we are, again, as last year, we're not hiring a lot of new positions. We haven't created a lot of new positions. We have 2 public works laborers, and we have 4 code enforcement officers. The new code enforcement officers, we anticipate that the cost of those hires will be offset by additional revenue. We are looking to institute a yearly landlord CO that will, obviously there will be a fee for that, and so we anticipate that this should be revenue neutral, and it shouldn't end up being a drag on the budget. Some of our other expensing increases, he said the JIF, liability, workers' comp, property, auto, cyber, all of that went up this year. We did work with them. We just colloquially, I guess, again, we increased our deductible on the liability side, and that allowed us to save $100,000 in premium. So that was, that was something that helped moderate that cost. Health benefits, again, went up. Our lease payments and police department, other expenses were relatively flat. Our road maintenance costs, they went up this year. Direct install program costs, we anticipate That's front-loaded. That will, over time, flip to where we're saving as a result of participation in the program. And again, some of the statutory expenses, pension, et cetera, increased this year. Our debt service again went up. And that gave us a total of about $2.5 million. Our expense decreases, interest on bonds went down. Our Kelly bill expenses. So the Kelly bill is a state law that when you have a planned unit development with a homeowners association, you can enter into what's called a Kelly agreement. And basically what you're doing, everybody who lives in a planned unit development pays property taxes. So they also pay HOA fees. So the Kelly bill is designed to prevent a double taxation on those residents, and municipalities pay back to the HOA the cost of the service at the township's rate. So they're being reimbursed for the cost. So if they do snow removal for $100,000 and it costs the town 20, we write them a check for 20 so that the residents are, their property taxes are going then towards that service, just like everybody else's. And then we just have some of the other ones. We have town hall maintenance and supplies down, our contractual billing allotments to the first aid squads because we're working to revise some of our agreements. That dropped this year, and then various other budgetary decreases added up to about $100,000. Our revenue sources for the budget surplus, as I'd said, we're going to increase it by about $1.6 million for this year. Our revenues are up about $200,000. State aid was increased by about $400,000. We expect it to be a one-time this year only increase. Our grants, to 2023, it was at 184. 2024, as of right now, we're at 121. So there is a delta of about 63,000, but as they come in and we do our Chapter 159 additions throughout the year, we expect that number to catch up or exceed last year's. Our other revenues are about the same, projecting them to remain flat. Delinquent taxes, we have a change this year of about 100,000, which leaves us with a total amount to be raised by taxation of $33,165,788, which is unchanged from last year. So our major budget challenges, as I said, we had insurance, JIF liability increased, we increased our deductible. It doesn't put the town in any increased risk, but it does save us money. We're keeping an eye on state health benefits. Gas and asphalt, they're starting to trend a little bit downwards. Our patch program has been a complete success, and it sort of helps us stretch the road work dollars in that manner. So to help us out with inflation and supply chain issues, we've been doing a lot of leasing, and with some of the large DPW machinery, so for example, a bulldozer, rather than purchase one, if we don't use it frequently, we try and stack our work up, and then we'll rent one for a week or 2 weeks or a month, a lot cheaper, and we can get all of that work done, and then we just send the bulldozer back. So where we're headed, we've added a lot of townwide events this year. We're going to look for more in the fall and throughout next year. Because of the vision of our voters and the approval of the open space referendum, we're currently seeking and we're working on the purchase of several open space parcels. One thing I do want to highlight, and it's not just this year and last year, budgeting over time in Howell has been very good. We've had a difficult economy with COVID and just a lot of the other sort of drags that have been within. Notwithstanding that, our Moody's bond rating was increased. So our cost of borrowing and going out in the market is cheaper as a result, and I give Lou full credit for that. So that is a great job. Our demolition program, we are pulling down a lot of eyesores. We're getting rid of those houses. They're attractive nuisances, and they diminish people's property value. We're looking to revise our rental ordinances. We want more control over the units. We're still working on truck routes in town. This is a massive undertaking, and it's going to require more work before we come up with something, and ultimately it goes to the state for approval. So we are still in the very initial phases of that. The efficiency study, I know that we've had requests for that. We are in the process of instituting a fair number of recommendations. Some of them don't fit. They're not appropriate for the townships, notwithstanding what's said in the study. And some of those we're not going to be able to implement. But for example, our bulk pickup program, we've totally redone it, and we anticipate it year over year to save $50,000 to $75,000, and that's at a minimum. So we're working with our planner. We want to look to do redevelopment areas along routes 9 and 33 where commercial development may be most appropriate. Again, and this is as timely as tonight. We are going to work, we're going to get some sensible regulations in place for the farmers. We're going to, there is a heritage in Howell for farming, and we want to honor that, and we also want to make sure that the township's protected. So that's one of our primary jobs right now. Tree experts, shade tree commission, we have planting plans being developed now. We're going to look to get them going in the fall. We did not get the grant last year for solar panels on the roof. We're going to go for it again. We think that that'll be a great opportunity for us, not only to get a new roof, but to get sort of a green energy approach on top and canopies out in the parking lot. So we're working right now, and this goes to what Councilman Gager had asked, we're working with the PBA. We have a great relationship with them. We're going to have the PBA contract finalized shortly. They're one of our greatest assets, and we're going to take care of everybody as best we can. Affordable housing, our next round's coming up. We're working on reestablishing deed restrictions. We successfully closed a deal with Friendship Gardens to do that, and that already banks 100 credits for us. We're trying to figure out what our potential share and number will be in 25, and then we're going to fight. We're going to talk to some developers. We're not going to have massive development, though. We have a new law in place that we're looking at now to see what impact that has. We'll talk to Andy Bear about it. And as always, the only reason that we're all sitting here is because of the residents. And so most importantly, we want to continue to listen to the public and ensure that Howell remains a beautiful and desirable place to call home. And that is your 2024 budget.
I had a couple of questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So the town hall expenses in '23 was budgeted 477, and we used 461. Why did we go to 591 this year?
I believe the direct install costs were included in that for the.
Direct install for what?
So it's the energy saving program. We met with the gentleman from JCP&L to go over what's going to be done in Town Hall, replacing boilers, replacing some of the generators. It's a substantial overhaul that over time will save a substantial amount of money. So there's an increased front-loaded cost to it, and then I think by year 3 or 4 it flips back around to where we're saving substantial money.
Okay. The pilot program. In '23, we budgeted $350,000, and we realized $253. And in '24, we budgeted $250. Why is the number going down?
There was a pilot program. There was a pilot agreement that came off of, the agreement ran its course and expired, so now they're back onto regular taxation. I was unaware of that in budgeting that in the '23 budget. As a result, we collected less in pilot revenue, but we did collect under their regular taxation. Under state statute, I can't anticipate more than what was realized in the previous year, and that's why it was budgeted as is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not sure if I read it correctly, but I think that I did. So the fire prevention position is a part-time position. Was that going from 31,000 to 75,000? Or did I read it, did I cross the line?
No, I think they may have asked for that kind of latitude under it, but we're not paying our part-time fire prevention person 75,000. It's allocated for in the budget.
Okay.
And so at the end of the year, I would expect most, if not all of that increase to peel off.
Okay.
So,
And then I guess one more is, with the increase of expenses for town hall, will everybody, all the tenants be sharing in the cost of those expenses, or is it just us that will be?
I'm actually working on redoing some of our leases for our tenants right now, and that's something that will be considered in those leases.
Thank you.
yeah, just to key off of that, so we do have built into all of our agreements, we have our square footage, and then we have our common area, or CAM charge, so.
But this would be something, I would say, an appropriate, it would be like an assessment almost, right? Not really a.
It's we're structured a little differently here, so,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, yes, yeah, I
It
think
just
that's
depends on the
how
square
you could
footage.
consider it, but given sort of the legal structure
Sure.
of, it's yes and no.
Got it. Thank you.
Mr. Clark, I have one question for you.
Yes.
Did the budget go up? Did it go down? Or is it flat?
Stay flat.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
No, I just wanted to be sure. On May 7th, when we do the budget publicly, where are we going to hold that?
We do it here at the meeting. Yeah.
That's
Are
a
we-
regularly scheduled meeting? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess there's no other questions. May I have a motion to approve Resolution R-24-146, certifying compliance with the United States Equal Opportunity Commission's enforcement guidance on the considerations of arrest and conviction records in employment decisions under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. May I have a motion to approve 24-146?
I'll make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 24-147, introduction of the 2024 municipal budget as presented. May I have a motion to introduce the budget?
Motion to introduce the budget, Resolution 24-147.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you.
Our next regular meeting date would be April 16 at 6 o'clock if there's an executive session, and regular session would be at 7. Thank you very much for the presentation. I thought it was very nicely done.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time that you took. And thank you for meeting with me and explaining the whole thing. So at this time, I would like a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.